Level 1, the Tiro. You are 17. Your father sold 2 goats to buy your travel fare to the recruiting station in Taraco, and he did it without telling your mother. You are not a volunteer out of glory. You are a volunteer because your family's farm cannot feed 6 children on rocky Spanish hillside soil, and the army pays 4 denarii a month, whether the harvest fails or not. The recruiting officer barely looks up. Height, adequate. Teeth, adequate. Any debts outstanding? You lie. He knows you're lying. He signs you anyway. Rome needs bodies more than it needs honesty. You are marched 200 miles to a training camp outside Taraco's coast, and for the first time in your life you sleep in a tent with 7 strangers instead of a room with 3 siblings. Your instructor is a one-eyed veteran named Ennius, who lost the eye to a slingstone in Numidia and talks about it the way other men talk about the weather. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. He simply repeats every failed drill until your body stops arguing with your mind. The wooden sword against the post. Thrust, never swing. A man who swings shows his ribs to the man beside him, and that man dies because of your carelessness, not his own. You do this 6,000 times before Ennius lets you touch iron. You march with a sack of sand strapped to your back because the quartermaster hasn't issued real kit yet, and on the 9th mile a boy from Gades collapses face first into the dirt. Ennius doesn't stop the column. He drags the boy up by his collar and puts him back in line without breaking stride. The Cantabri won't wait for your knees to feel better, he says. Nobody complains again. By the 4th month, your hands have stopped blistering. That's how you know you're no longer a farmer's son. You're something else now, and you don't yet have a word for it. Level 2, the Miles Gregarious. You are 18. They hand you a lorica hamata, a mail shirt heavier than anything you've ever worn, and a scutum with the emblem of the Legio 7th Gemina painted across it. A bull, horns lowered. Your gladius is Spanish steel, forged 40 miles from your own village, which feels like the first joke the Empire has ever told you. You're posted to the northern frontier of Britannia, past a wall that isn't finished being built, where the fog doesn't lift until midday, and the local tribes watch your patrols from tree lines without ever quite attacking. Your tent leader is a 12-year veteran named Otho who keeps a carved wooden fox in his pack and won't explain why. Nobody asks twice. Your first real fight comes on a supply escort, 6 months in. A raiding party hits the wagon train from the flank at dusk, and the noise arrives before your mind understands what's happening. Shields lock. The man to your left is younger than you and screaming your name for reassurance you don't have to give. You thrust under the shield rim exactly the way Ennius drilled into your arm for 4 months. And it works, and you feel nothing about it yet because there isn't time to feel anything. 11 minutes. 3 Romans wounded, none dead. Otho finds you afterward, checks your shield for damage, and says only, "Good," before walking away. You realize later that "good" from Otho is the loudest praise anyone in this legion gives. Level 3, the Decanus. You are 21. There's no ceremony. Otho simply tells you the tent is yours now. 8 men, their kit, their discipline, their disputes, and walks off to drink his evening wine. The promotion comes with no extra coin and no visible marker, but every argument in your Contubernium now lands on your desk before it lands anywhere else. One of your men, a recruit from Lugdunum named Bassus, keeps trading away his rations for wine before the month's end, and then goes hungry the last week. You don't report him. You sit with him one night and explain plainly that his hunger becomes the whole tent's problem when he's too weak to hold a shield line. He doesn't trade again. You start noticing things about your 7 men you were never taught to notice. Which one needs silence before a fight, and which one needs to talk. Which one is steady under real danger and reckless when there's none. This isn't written in any manual. Ennius never mentioned it. You learn it because you have no choice but to learn it. Level 4, the Tesserarius. You are 24. Your job now is the watchword. Collect it from the centurion at dusk, guard it, pass it to every tent before the sun is fully down. You walk the perimeter 4 times a night without a torch, memorizing the shape of the camp in total darkness until you could walk it blind, because eventually you will need to. You catch a sentry asleep at his post in month 3. You wake him without a word, walk him through what happens the second time, and he's never late or drowsy again. A different man, months later, makes the same mistake, and this time you report it, because a pattern excuse twice becomes a habit, and a habit gets men killed. On a night with no moon, a scout from a local tribe slips past the outer watch during a shift change, a gap of maybe 2 minutes. You find him crouched near the granary before he finds his way out. The intelligence he's carrying redirects an entire cohort's movement 3 days later. Your centurion writes one line about you in his report. Dependable in the dark. You spend the next 30 years trying to keep deserving it. Level 5, the Signifer. You are 27. They hand you the standard, a bronze hand mounted on a decorated shaft, wrapped in a wolf pelt so every man in the century can find you through smoke, fog, or chaos without needing to hear a single order. 12 pounds, carried one-handed, at every march and every fight from now on. You also become the century's banker. Every man's pay, burial fund, and equipment deduction is logged under your name in a strongbox that never leaves your sight. You learn quickly that carrying the standard earns respect, and carrying the strongbox earns something rarer, trust. During a river crossing under arrow fire, you hold the standard raised through your offhand while your sword hand does the work of two men because the line reforms around wherever you're standing, not wherever the order was shouted from. Your shoulder never fully recovers. You don't write that part in any report either. Level 6, the Optio. You are 30. Your centurion, a hard, quiet man named Astorius, tells you exactly one thing on your first day. I give the orders. You make sure they survive contact with reality. That's the whole job. You stand at the rear of the formation now, carrying a wooden staff whose only purpose is pushing frightened men back into a line they're trying to abandon. There's a soldier in your century, a gifted fighter named Dagon, fast and fearless and completely unmanageable. 3 fights outside camp, debts across 2 Contubernia, confined twice already. You see the potential and you write it down. You also see the pattern, and eventually the pattern wins. You file his transfer yourself. It's the first time you understand that leadership sometimes means giving up on a man's talent because his character never showed up to match it. Level 7, the Centurion. You are 35. You're given the Vitus, the vine rod every centurion carries, plain, unglamorous, and unmistakable to every soldier who sees it in your hand. You command 80 men. Their pay depends on your signature. Their families receive your letters when they don't come home. You're posted to the edge of the Danube frontier, where raids don't come as battles. They come as sudden, brief, and vicious, then vanish before your century can properly respond. 2 of your men die in an ambush on a route you inspected 2 days earlier. You redesign every patrol pattern under your command from scratch, varying timing and paths until there's nothing predictable left for anyone watching from across the river to exploit. 3 attempted ambushes fail in the following months. Your cohort commander asks how you knew. I assumed someone was watching long enough to learn our habits, you tell him, so I made sure we stopped having any. Level 8, the Primus Pilus. You are 42. First Spear. Senior Centurion of the entire Legion commanding the 1st century of the 1st cohort, the most experienced soldiers in the formation, at double strength. You sit now at the table where campaigns are actually decided, the only man there who has held a shield line within the last decade. The post lasts 1 year by design, so no single man accumulates too much power, and so the burden doesn't hollow anyone out permanently. In your year, you build a formal system for recording lessons from every engagement and sharing them across every centurion in the Legion before the next campaign begins. When your year ends, you're formally raised into the Equestrian Order, not for the title, but for what it unlocks next. Level 9, the Praefectus Castrorum. You are 45. 3rd in command of the Legion, behind only the Legate and the Senior Tribune. Your entire world becomes logistics, grain, water, roads, construction, equipment, the invisible machinery that decides whether 5,000 men can fight at all. During a delayed winter campaign in Numidia, a contractor fails 3 consecutive grain deliveries, and the Legate wants to push the advance forward regardless. You present the numbers plainly. 40 more miles without resupply puts the Legion at serious risk within 12 days. You already have a solution drafted, emergency requisition from 2 provincial granaries, rerouted through a garrison town, ready to move within 6 days. He signs it without argument. The campaign resumes on schedule. Nobody outside this room will ever know your name was behind it, and you've stopped needing them to. Level 10, the Legatus Legionis. You are 51. The Imperial Seal arrives by courier. Your name, your legion, your posting, Legio III Augusta, guarding the desert frontier of Numidia. You have come back in a strange way to the same kind of dry, unforgiving land your father once farmed with 2 fewer goats than he needed. You command 5,000 men now, and you've lived every rank from the inside, not from a report. When a young tribune proposes a patrol route built entirely from a map, you ask him one question. How many nights has he marched through unfamiliar terrain in the dark? Silence answers for him. You replace his route with paths you walked yourself, decades ago, under a lighter pack. That evening, alone in your quarters, you find the old carved wooden fox, Othos, given to you the week he died. You've kept it for 30 years without ever learning why it mattered to him. You think about the boy who lied to a recruiting officer who already knew he was lying. Command was never the reward at the end of that road. It was the road itself, carried the entire way on your own back, one rank heavier than the last.